Okay, welcome to CarveWright Project Designer Tutorials. This first tutorial is just going to be an overview of the layout of the software and what the tools and toolbars are and how to just navigate the software and how to use it. So the first thing you see when you open the software is the welcome screen, where it gives you the option to open new project or last project or a previously made project. So we're just going to start a new project here. Then it gives you the window to set your project parameters, the length, width, and thickness. I'm going to just stick with the default setting of my last project there. Now if you do have the Pro software with the rotary tool, you will see this tab here where it allows you to set up a cylindrical project, and we'll get into that in further tutorials. But let's go ahead and just create a project board. Now this is going to be the dimensions of the project, the finished project that you're wanting to carve in the software or with the machine. So go ahead and set these parameters to maybe a project you have in mind. Okay, and your board appears on the screen. Alright, let's go over just the layout of the software itself. So this is obviously the work area, and then you've got your board here, which then you can manipulate. We can kind of go over the mouse functions. So the middle button on your mouse with the scroll, if you scroll back and forth, that'll zoom in and out on your board. So when you're working, you can easily zoom in and out. Also, if you push down that center button where the scroll is and hold it down, it allows you to rotate the board, so you can look at the board from different angles. And also you can even rotate it all the way to the back if you want. Then you've got the left click, which is just actually, it doesn't do anything unless there's actually something there, but it's what performs the tool function. So if you want to engage a tool, you're going to left click it just like you did to open up the software. If you right click, it will bring up drop down menus, and for everything that you put on the board, there will be a drop-down menu with features available for use with that. It's just a quick reference to the same kind of tools you're seeing up here and even in here. Just the right-click menu gives you a quick and easy way to get to those items. So speaking of the tools, let's kind of go over that. Let's start with this up here. I'm on a Mac, so on the Mac you'll see this is just the Apple menu, so it has nothing to do with CarveWright. But then the CarveWright menu here, that's got access to your preferences and things, and these are features that are I believe available under the help menu on a PC. So if you're on a PC and you're looking for your preferences and things, you'll look under the help menu. The rest of these are the same though for Mac and PC. Under the file menu, you've got new, open with preview, open recent, which gives you a list of projects you've had open lately, and of course save and close. Flash manager and upload and download scan, these are functions that engage with the memory card. So if you want to manage the projects that are on your memory card, you can click this and that will open it up so you can delete them or just look and see what's on the card. Uploading obviously allows you to put new projects onto the memory card to take to your machine. And then download scan is if you have the scanning probe and you've scanned a 3D object, this is the button you would push to download it off of that memory card. Okay, import allows you to import your images with the basic software, and then of course if you have some of the add-on importers, you've got more options there available to you. And then pattern editor, sculptor launches. These are all just other functions. And then the print function allows you to print whatever your project is on the screen. Okay, edit, these are undo, cut, paste, select all, and then board settings, which is a very important one here. And we can go into that. Now you notice how these ones are grayed out, and so that they're not highlighting when you roll over them. This means that there's nothing selected on the board or nothing available to use these features with. So I haven't created anything on this board yet, so there's nothing to undo or redo, and since there's nothing on the board yet, there's nothing to cut, paste, or any of those items as well. Board settings, however, allows me to change the dimensions of this board if I figure out that I need it to be 14 inches long by 6 and I need to change those dimensions. I also have some options here on changing the colors and the glossiness of the board itself. And then this is also where I change my carving bit, my standard rastering bit, as we call it, the bit that actually goes back and forth and does all the shaping work. So we've got several bits available that you can use. And this is where you can choose those, the 1/16 inch ball nose, which is that 1/16 inch tapered carving bit that comes with every machine. That is always going to be the default. Okay. Drawing menu. This is just the drawing tools, the same things that you're going to see in our other drawing menus on the side here that we're going to look at. Carving menu, more tools that aren't highlighted yet. We'll talk about layout. This snap feature here is important if you're wanting to create a grid, and we'll talk about this in some of the tutorials where you can create a grid and then snap things to it, so it makes drawing very quick and easy, especially geometric shapes, because those objects will automatically line up with the grid that you've laid down. So we'll go ahead and cancel that for now. Tools, more things that we're going to talk about. All of these tools I have out in my toolbars here, and we'll discuss all of those when we get to it. These are all represented on my toolbars as well. Now, toolbars itself, you'll see here under the view, I can go and turn those toolbars on and off. So if you're not seeing some of the toolbars that I'm talking about, you can go under view and turn them on or off just by clicking on them. So I can turn my drawing menu toolbar off, and you see that one disappeared there. And then you can go and turn it back on, and it pops back up where I've set it. These are also all movable, so you can move your toolbars around if you want it down here or on the other side or up here on the top. Wherever you want those toolbars to be, you can move them around and arrange it for your own comfort level. I have mine custom arranged the way that I like to use them, so if you're looking at your software and it doesn't look like mine, it's because I've moved my toolbars around. But you can highlight over the little bars there and it'll tell you which toolbar is what, and then you can just grab it on that piece there and move them around however you like. Okay, so these are all items that we will be covering. Carving list is a list that gives you everything that'll be on the board. We'll cover that in later tutorials. And then window, it's basically just showing you if you've got multiple projects up, it'll list them here. And then help menu, this is where you activate your licenses and other utility type functions, finding manuals and accessing your account online as well. Okay, so let's look at the toolbars a little bit more. This first toolbar, being the standard toolbar, is kind of like the file menu where it's got the new projects, open projects, save, undo, cut, paste, and delete. This next one is the pan, rotate, and zoom tools. So these are the same functions that I was showing you with the mouse, where you can pan, rotate, and do these same functions. You can just click on these tools to do them as well, if you prefer. Anytime you're wanting to just get back to the default tool is the pointer tool here too, by the way. So that's home. You'll see it says home there. This is the tool that's just kind of the one that allows you to click and grab things and move them around. So anytime you click on a different tool and you want to get back to, like, this blue arrow here is going to be that tool you're looking for. Okay, so you can just snap to the front, or flip it to the back, or a quicken alignment tool. So if you've been rotating around, you just want it to line it back up, you click on the ruler there. And then this one here, which allows you to toggle off of the wood grain. and I prefer to work without wood grain. It's just easier to see a nice flat workspace when you're putting patterns on and designing. So you will always see me turning that wood grain off and just going with the standard plain background. And in this case, there's a few of these tools that you will see that if you're working with the basic software, you will not see in the basic software. These are features that are available in the Pro version. And we can cover that later, specifically when I talk about Pro software in those Pro tutorials. Here's where those tools where we discussed the grid earlier, where I can turn on that snap to the grid. I can turn it on or off. The same way if I want to snap to the edges of boards, and then toggle labels. We'll discuss this a little bit more too. Labels is where it displays measurements on your board, and sometimes if you've got a really complex project, you'll just see a bunch of jumbled numbers there as it's showing so many different measurements. Sometimes you want to turn that off. These are alignment tools, so once we get some projects or pieces on the board, you'll actually see these highlight, and then they're pretty self-explanatory. It allows you to center and align things in different ways. You can align groups, and then we have the mirroring tools as well. Allows you to mirror things, and we'll discuss all this. Flipping and rotating, all those are pretty self-explanatory. Down here, this is the 3D toolbar. So this is the toolbar that you acquire when you purchase the 3D modeling suite. So all these tools are specific to that one. We'll discuss that later with 3D modeling suite. Now you have your standard carving tools toolbar. So carve region, which is one of the most used tools on there. We'll be showing that one a lot. Select surface, where you can add domes and some other surfacing. Select textures, and then select material, which is that's one of the add-on features that comes with the 3D toolbar. And then outline pattern. So a lot of these we'll be discussing a lot more. Outline pattern just actually outlines whatever you have put on the board and have selected. Invert makes it inside out. So if you've got a pattern that's raised up and you want to make it inverted in, like a dish that you want to make cast a mold of, that's what this tool will do. Hide will actually hide something so you don't see it on the board. So maybe you're trying out a few different layout ideas and you want one idea to be visible while the other one's hidden, so you can compare the two. You can hide one while looking at the other one, and then flip the opposite. There's a lot of reasons using that. Make tab or place tabs. This is for when you want to manually put tabs in when you're carving all the way through a piece, so that it is held into place and doesn't come free into the machine. We'll be discussing that a lot in later tutorials. Drill tool, we will cover this one as well. This is pretty self-explanatory. It puts holes in the board. Keyhole, this is an add-on function. One of the modules that actually comes with the keyhole bit. It's simply for making hanging slots in the back of your signs or plaques. Some people have got clever and done other things with it, but that's its primary function. It's just to give you a hanging slot to hang it on the wall. Select bit, this is for choosing the different bits for vector functions to follow paths. Select depth profile, also a really neat little tool that allows you to tell the bit to start off shallow and get deeper and then get shallower again. There's some different profiles there, and we'll cover that too. And this is just a companion, that one there, reverse, which will just flip whatever profile you've selected here if you want it to go the other direction. Edge route, pretty self-explanatory. That one we'll just put a route on the edge of whatever your board plaque is. And then we've got a cut path, flip cutout, and hide cutout. And again, these are all gray because I don't have anything on the board to apply those tools to. So that's the only reason they're gray right now. And when we start getting into building the projects, you will see them become highlighted when there is an appropriate piece selected on the board that these tools can be used for. So these are all kind of related to the cut path. Cut path's a neat tool, so if you want to cut out an object, it will ask you which side of the object you want to cut on, and then it will give you the option to select which cutting bit to use, from the little tiny 1/16 inch bit to a big 3/16 inch cutting bit, and then it will automatically place tabs in there so that you don't have to manually do that. So Cutpath is a nice tool. Flip cutout, that's where you can flip it from the inside or outside of a line, and then hide cutout, so it'll hide the area that you're cutting away if you want to just see the object isolated. And then of course, if you need to change any of those parameters, we've got the edit cutout, which after you've applied it, you can click that button and change any of the parameters. Make pattern allows you to, when you are designing your own pattern work or working with the Skinny Pro patterns, you can combine multiple patterns together into new patterns by using the make pattern. And extract patterns, same thing. If you acquire a project from another person, or you purchase one from the store and you want to use those patterns individually outside of the project, you can click the extract pattern. It'll pull those patterns out of the project and put them into your pattern library. We've got a copy offset tool here. This one is a neat tool for just creating a repeating pattern. And then pattern tool, which is what we were discussing there when you're extracting patterns. This is where it's putting things. This is the pattern library, and it opens up here, and everybody's system comes with the basic pattern library, so everybody should be familiar with this, even if you just opened your software for the first time. And then favorites is where you put your own patterns that you are creating or importing or making yourself, and then you can organize those however you want. And then I've got a few stray pattern collections and other patterns here that I have created as well. And then we've got a link to the pattern store, so if you want to acquire more patterns, you can click right here and it'll take you right to our pattern depot. And then we also have a link straight to the CarveWright homepage. These last few tools here are merging and optimizing tools. So merging is something that we will talk to in a little more advanced levels, where we will be applying surfaces, patterns to match surfaces. So you want to make a pattern wrap to a dome. That's what you would use these tools for. Bit optimization. This is part of making sure that your patterns come out with good quality and without chip out. Feathers, also more optimizing things, and we'll go into optimization quite a bit in every tutorial we do, because these are the tools that really make sure your project is successful. Draft, another one of the optimization tools. This one puts a bevel on the outside edges of projects to help with chip out and other bit carving issues. And then we've got a few advanced features here. These are part of the Pro software. Decorate with text, where you can make text follow along a path, and then of course remove that. And then edit envelope, where you can distort the project or the pattern or the text into whatever shape you kind of want. And then pattern along a trajectory, where it's kind of like text, the text, decorate with text, where you can make text follow along a path. The pattern along trajectory does the same thing. It will make patterns follow along a path. So you can do some really neat repetition or design work with that one itself. Okay, and then here is the input toolbar. This is the one that allows you to change the depth of any object, change the length and size of it, the angles, and also height. So let's go ahead and just drop a pattern on here to briefly show you what that does. So any pattern, you just select any pattern, you just click on it, drop it on the board, and then you can size and scale it. We'll go over that in a minute. But here you can choose the depth of it. So if I want to make it a half an inch deep. I will type in 0.5. Height actually allows you to make it taller or shallower within that set depth. So if you want to make it even shallower, you can make it less than that. So default's kind of the 100. You can change the angle. So if you want to rotate something at a specific angle, 45 degrees, you can type that in there. And then of course you can change the size however you wish. Now some of these tools are going to be specific to certain add-ons, like conform will only be applicable to vector drawing. So you can see that it is gray here because this is a pattern and what we call a raster, and a vector is when you draw a line and you apply a bit to it. That would be a vector, and then you can conform that to a shape, and we'll discuss that later when we get to it. For feather is just a little kind of optimization tool that allows you to create an even amount or an even depth level all the way around the edge of a pattern. So sometimes a pattern, the bottom edges can get a little random, and then some areas of the pattern don't seem to go down to the same floor. Floor feather just ensures that everything goes down around the edge of the pattern all to the same level. And then pierced, we skipped that one. Pierced is actually just an easy way to make a pattern go all the way to the bottom of the board. And the way this CarveWright works is you can carve all the way through a board as long as you are securing it with tabs. So this is a quick way to just drop a pattern all the way down to the bottom of the board and have it be ready to carve out as an applique or whatever the function is that you're working with. And then the drawing toolbar here, and this is a widely used, we talked about the pointer tool here before. This is kind of the default home tool that you want to be clicking on anytime you're looking to get out of whatever tool you're on. You want to come and click on the pointer tool. Down here are just some of the standard basic drawing functions where we've got line segment, connected lines, and spline tool, and they do pretty much exactly what the little pictures there show. You've got single lines and then connected lines and then some curves. And then the next one here, your rectangle and square, which that's just for drawing rectangles and squares. And then you've got ovals, circles, and arcs, all pretty self-explanatory. And then your text tool, which we will go over text tool quite a bit, and there's a couple variations. If you're using basic or pro, the pro version will look a little different, has more features than the basic one. And then the route tool, which is a fun little function that it kind of works with the select depth profiles that we were talking about here, and there's a tutorial that we'll cover that and talk about that a little bit more. And then down here, this is the vector drawing suite toolbar. So these are tools that you acquire when you buy the vector drawing suite. It's this toolbar here. So kind of like the 3D toolbar. This is one that you'll acquire if you buy that add-on, and we'll go over that quite a bit more when we get to the specific tutorials for that bit of software. So that's the general layout of the CarveWright software, and a brief explanation of what all the tools are, and we'll move on to the next tutorial where we will start designing our first project.